My name is Manoj Agarwal. I'm the group editor at Banking Frontiers.
I am Dr. N. Rajendran. Currently, I am with the Multi-Commodity Exchange of India as a Chief Digital Officer. Prior to this, I was the CEO of IPTAS, Indian Financial Technology and Allied Services, and I was the former CTO of the NPCI. And maybe everybody knows about UPI. UPI is my product. I proudly to say it is my product. Thank you very much.
My name is Vishesh Sharma. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Ashega Group, one of the BFSIs in India. And I've been a journalist and marketeer who's taking care of all the MarTech, social and communication in my current organization. And probably one of the biggest achievements over a period of time I had was to launch Angel One's IPO. So I was the one who led the entire retail communication as well as the retail, portion for the IPO. Plus, I led the rebranding exercise for the company from Angel Broking to Angel One.
My name is Sundar Natarajan. I'm the Chief Risk Officer at India First Life. I've been into governance for the last about 3 to 3.5 years. And prior to that, across insurance companies and the BFSI space, into sales, strategy, operations, customer service.
This is Nilesh Halde. I head products at Pay Nearby. We are India's one of the largest branchless banking platform, the network. We partner with neighborhood stores and dispense services into verticals like banking, insurance, travel, to the bottom of the pyramid. Okay. So we have partnered with around 1.2 million outlets in the country. We are present in around 20,000 PIN codes. We offer services like cash withdrawal, payments, UPI, micro ATM, POS. We also dispense insurance to the absolutely in sachetized format to the bottom of the pyramid. So yeah, largely we target underprivileged, segment of this country.
So I'm Pushpanda. I'm working with Kashi. I'm heading operations there. It's been 5 years that I'm associated with it. And prior to that, I have worked with Capital First, which was IDFC, which is currently IDFC now. And I've been with IFL and Standard Chartered as well.
My name is Avik. I head the portfolio for digital banking and digital business at HDFC Bank. Prior to this, I was with Axis Bank, where I used to head the digital lending product and innovation. And prior to that, I will say that India Bulls Dhani was one of my babies. So that was the time I started, falling in love with lending, digital lending. I have continued to do so, and that is one of the areas that I practice within the bank, among other things like payments and other cross-channel acquisitions and innovations as well.
I'm Riddhi. Thank you, Banking Frontiers, for organizing this. I'm a two-time founder. By background, I've done computer science. Currently, I'm one of the founders of Lakshmi. It's a fintech platform for women. What we offer is community learning. We've launched our wealth tech where you can invest in portfolios. Going forward, we're building out our lending and banking offering as well.
I'm Varun. I'm from Capri Global. We are an NBFC. We typically deal into debt products, both traditional and also the new ones like of digital lending and gold as well, and retail products. I head the in-house engineering team. Have worked across multiple domains, be it EdTech, InsurTech, and now more onto the FinTech side.
My name is Aljo Joseph. So as a background, I spent close to a decade with Big Fours, KPMG and EY. Subsequently moved into private equity, where I look at India investments for a Swiss firm. So incubated a bunch of ventures as a part of that. Now I'm a third-time founder actually. So basically, Innovate Capital, I'm sure most of you all would have heard of. Yeah. So I'm the founder of Innovate Capital. We've done close to about 25,000 invoices out there. I'm also the founder of Bharat Next. It's a product that we launched about 4 months ago, and typically, given that I'm here, I'm going to use the opportunity to pitch Bharat Next as well. So essentially, we are into the game of business payments. We believe that business payments fundamentally is broken, and essentially it's about bringing seamlessness there. Within 4 months, we've achieved a GTV in excess of 200 crores already.
I'm Vijay Kumar, currently with Unity Small Finance Bank. Prior to this, I was with Stancy for about 14 years. Prior to that, I was with Amex, started with Amex. So I've been in the risk and credit world and stressed asset management. My current role, I handle the large corporate stressed assets.
My name is Harish Gujarati. I'm from Secure Channel. We are the event partners for today.
I am Surendra Tulishan. Again, company name is Cybersecurity Solutions, but more known as Secure Channel because that's our product name. And I am one of the founder of this company and also heading it.
Biju. I am the Chief Vigilance Officer for Federal Bank. I head the fraud risk management. I have been in the risk management part of the bank for the last 12 years.
My name is Pratik Adani. I am from the Samco group. Samco is one of the most profitable discount brokerage out there, as well as we are the youngest mutual fund house in the country.
So what we're going to do is spend 2 minutes on trying to make sure that we're talking the same vocabulary, the meaning of that vocabulary. So there are terms like fakes, clones, rogues, duplicates, and maybe more. And maybe if you take Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, also there'll be words. Can we have some kind of clarity on what we mean by some of these terms? Rogues, fakes, duplicates.
Basically, the terms which you have coined, duplicate, fake, as well as rogues. So among those, according to me, duplicate is something different. So duplicate is a copy of the real thing. We cannot say that is a fake or that's rogue. And we must say that duplicate is always illegal. Whereas the fake or rogue, that is something which always causes damage, whether it is to the organization or to the general public. So for example, if we take a fake identity, so there can be various kinds of damages both to the individual and I basically come from a bank. So from a banking perspective, when I say a person is coming with a fake identity, and particularly in this time when the customer onboarding, everything happens in an online fashion. So the chances of impersonation or another person opening an account in the name of another person, so the probability of that happening becomes more. And when everything is done in a digital manner, so the fact is that doing a fraud, it's comparatively easy than doing it in the physical world. So even though the activity is one and the same, but conducting a fraud in the digital world is comparatively easy than the old era, that is the physical world. So for example, create impersonation itself. If earlier in the customer onboarding aspect, the person was supposed to come to the physical branch, directly talk with the officers who are there in the branch, and then complete the KYC related activities and all. Whereas now we all know it's done by an activity called video KYC, wherein a person comes over a video, complete the entire onboarding process. So he never goes to a bank. Everything is done in a non-face-to-face manner. And in that scenario of conducting the transaction, entire transaction, that is the onboarding transaction in a non-face-to-face manner, the probability or the easiness of conducting that fraud is much more. So that is what I would like to say here.
I think I agree with the Biju on the definition of these fakes and rogues. But to add to the conventionally people used to have the purpose of the thing. If you wanted to make a copy of your certificate, that is some need base you are doing, okay? But if you make a copy of your 500 rupees note, then that becomes a duplicate, okay? So this is the difference between, because we go by the English definitions, so then there's something different. But when you use how it is being used, similarly clones, you can use it for a good purpose. Then clones, if you are using your credit card or debit card somebody for other intention, what intention this is being used to for the cloning, then define. So almost if we say all these 4 words, yes, it is used for the different purpose also.
Let me take rogue because that was less spoken about.
Right.
extending from where Dr. Rajendran mentioned, I'll give a very simple example, non-financial example. A person working in a call center who's taking a call or making out a call uses that opportunity to malign the organization.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm making a call to a prospect or a customer. It's supposed to be a service call, but I use that opportunity to malign the organization. So the intent is malified. Okay, so you say that the person has gone rogue.
Okay.
Or you must have seen on all of these spy movies,
Yes.
becomes a double agent. Person has gone rogue. Now apply that to, let's say, an information security domain. And the possibilities are very dangerous to even imagine. One could go rogue and use power at hands. You say with power comes responsibility. They don't use the responsibility.
Right.
And that is where the person goes rogue and causes damage. Operating word is causing damage. Right. That is what.
So essentially, in simple English, a rogue is a person who pretends to be something but is actually doing something else.
And causing damage.
And causing damage. So as an insurance industry, do you guys pay a lot of attention to the meanings of these words?
Meanings may be incidental, but in spirit, of course, a lot. Biju talked about it. He mentioned how one can easily impersonate and get onboarded onto the so getting onboarded is only the start of the journey. After getting onboarded, what that person can cause is what is very big. For example, in an insurance company, today, in all noble intentions, the government has launched a very inexpensive insurance scheme. Okay, you get onboarded onto it. I mean, the actual customer doesn't even know. Okay, I'm impersonating, X impersonates the actual customer, gets onboarded. Okay, is a fake. Actually does some, sometimes even pays renewal premium. Okay, and then registers a claim. Is not the end of it. Ensures that the entire ecosystem is built such that the claim gets processed and paid. Okay, is the length to which today fraudsters, or to the length to which Fakistan has gone into.
Okay. Become more and more like organized syndicate.
Yeah, very well organized, well-oiled machinery.
Scary.
Extremely scary.
Yeah.
So just to add a perspective,
quickly,
very quickly on this one, right? So like you rightly mentioned, right, the definitions are evolving as we speak, right? So clearly, so just adding some color to it, maybe helpful for the discussion subsequently. And the definition depends on who you last spoke to, right, in the industry, because it's still very evolving. But one of the definitions of rogue also, which has come through, is when the person who did the underlying transaction is untraceable. Untraceable.
Okay.
So essentially when, so like for instance, the example that you gave, in case he uses somebody's documents, those documents are original, then you hear the definition to be duplicate, right? When it is the original document with the photo changed, that's a fake. So these things depend on who you last spoke to. So I think, we'll evolve with the definition as we come along.
So all of you have basically collectively given the importance that one really needs to understand the terms and the context and the implications of those. So for the customer, is it getting easier to figure out that there is some kind of fraud or fake and to find a remedy? Are things getting more easier for the customer?
So there are channels like anybody can go check their CIBIL scores, right? If somebody has taken or checked on their property, check their SARSAI details, right? Something which is very personal to them, and see if any invalid charges are there and get that resolved. Okay. So the resolution channels are also there. But whether they know how to get that resolution, whom to reach out to, because definitely as an industry, we are becoming more consumer centric. So the thought is aligned that everybody wants to help the customer. It's just the first step is where the friction lies for the customer to reach.
Answer to your question is yes and no. because it also depends on what kind of customer set you are targeting, right? I mean, for much evolved customers like us, the awareness is there. They know they are getting conned. They can prevent frauds, right, happening with them. But specifically the target audience, what we are addressing, right, which is bottom of the pyramid. These poor guys don't know at all that they are getting conned, right? Even if they come to know that they are getting conned, they really don't know what are the avenues where they can go and file their complaint and get the recoveries done, right? Answer to that is like create more and more awareness, right? But again, reaching to them is again difficult thing. So I don't know how much we'll be successful in creating awareness. It'll need a lot of money to be pumped in, right? But at the same time, in my opinion, the onus lies on us to prevent these customers from getting conned, right? So that we have to take responsibility and protect the customers from getting conned. So you need to implement a lot of things into the system, technology, so that your customers are secured. Okay. So that's my take on it.
See, there are two things. First of all, we talked about customer awareness. Now we have a very classic case of the day Elon Musk said, $8 you get verified. That was a classic case of such fake pages coming. We all know how billions of dollars companies lost because some random person created an account and, consumers actually trusted those accounts and just went bonkers, just by one tweet. So that shows the kind of impact this kind of scenario can create for consumers, which is why, as brand marketeers, we focus a lot on this thing called brand identity. You establish your brand identity in such a way that your consumer knows who you are. They know, what you're talking, where you're talking. They are connected with you. That's the beauty of digital and that's the harm also of digital. Secondly, I remember recently, one of my friends, one co-founder, he launched a new product. What happened was the day he launched, random pages were created on Insta about the same name and everything. Okay. So the idea, he called me, he said, I'm facing this. So another thing we can leverage technology because the ORM tools which we usually use for our reputation management, those tools I won't say they will help solve the entire problem, but yes, they can. As a brand guy or as an organization, you can actually minimize the damage is what I'll say.
I think we have been trying to promote customer, security for the customers. But see, it's not a one-way thing. It's a handshake which has to happen. So we try to educate customers, right? Right. We have done a lot of campaigns. We have done a lot of communication. We have even started a program called as Vigilante. For promoting customer awareness about different type of security and frauds. But at the end of the day, we can try from our end, but customer also has to come forward and accept that, right? They also have to read that. We also send out communications. Customer has to acknowledge that, understand that. If not, they have to reach out to us. But in most of the cases, it ends up being a one-way communication to a customer. And, at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, then it's the brand which ends up getting into the wrong pages, right? Right. So that is also, so it's a two-way thing. Both customer also has to take the initiative to be aware and to protect his or her own assets. Right. Just like the bank or any organization is doing for it.
I would like to continue what he said. Basically, it's a we problem, right? It's not a me problem. It is, we have to work together towards it. Also, I think common sense plays a very important role, both for the companies and the brands as well as for customers. So we internally like to tell everybody that please start saying no to POPs. So what is a POP? Basically, it's no password, OTPs, pins, and any secret informations. So basically, we have a mantra inside that not only for our customer support teams and everybody, but also for our customers. We start trying to tell that secret stuff doesn't need to be shared. It's such a common sense thing. Everybody is aware of it, but all of us are guilty of sharing our personal information on WhatsApp, on public channels, somewhere or the other. Once we realize that there is some kind of trust, we are very gullible. We share information very easily. Recently, one of my travel agent asked me my Aadhaar copies, my PAN copies, my passport copies, and my wife just sent them all to me. So we are so easily trustable. Now that can be used in so many other ways. So I think it is very important for all of us to apply some kind of common basic first principles before sharing information.
Right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing to
Yes,
that.
yes.
So I agree with Varun that it's getting easier for companies, corporates, fintech institutions to monitor, have educational programs. So it's easier from that perspective, but it's tougher from a consumer perspective, right? Like he said, his wife gave all of his passport, Aadhaar, everything, right? So many now lending apps ask you for SMS reading abilities. Now, while they say we'll only read your bank statement, where there's a glitch, whether intentional or not, and you read an OTP, you can actually read other things. So cumulatively, you can, and that's happened. I'm sure we all have no cases where someone said, pay your Airtel mobile, it's unpaid, fill in this form, we'll restart your phone or prevent disconnection, enter the details and the thing got cleaned out. So from an end consumer perspective, it is still very difficult. So many WhatsApp groups, buy this crypto, I made 36,000 in trade. On Telegram, there are so many groups now. Right? And people are getting conned. Today, daily, you're hearing stories of people getting conned. Even with Google Pay, they said, here's a screenshot, we've not received the payment. Right? So I think from a company perspective, there's a lot happening. There's lots of agencies. There's a lot of cross-learning we're doing. But from a retailer, from an end consumer perspective, it's very difficult still.
The awareness, the most popular awareness is, you get IVR calls and, SMSs saying, please don't share your OTP. We don't ask the client to share these things. These are the banks doing it. The newer forms of payments, these are the ways where people are losing money fast. Like, let's say the QR code, or, you get a link saying that click on this, you will get your refund. Let's say I've canceled something. It happened with me that I canceled room on in a travel portal app, and then I was to get my refund. When I was not getting, I complained. I get a exactly look-alike link. Just click on this, you'll get it. So I knew that, to get a refund, I don't have to click. You have all my details. You just have to transfer the money to me. So just that, because we are a little literate about it, we could avoid. If it is somebody who was not aware of that, he would have clicked on it and probably lost some more money. So, there are newer ways of transacting financially. That is where the awareness has to be augmented.
So I'll just add one point on the remedy piece, right?
Okay.
And like everyone rightly said, it's
that.
completely linked to awareness. So government has launched 1930, right? Essentially, you can complain on 1930 as a customer. A lot of people don't even know this number, right? So I think getting that number more out there is very, very important. But even when you complain on 1930, there is a protocol that needs to be followed, and most people are not even aware of the protocol, right? First of all, you need to call up 1930. They'll advise you to, they'll send you a WhatsApp. Once they send you a WhatsApp, you share details with them, right? Which is around your identity, mobile number, email ID, the bank statement showing that the transaction actually happened, and a couple of other things. I mean, you can look up the entire process. It's clearly available. So subsequently, after this, they advise you to go to the nearby police station, file it's not called an FIR, it's called a petition. Yeah, you're supposed to file a petition. And after the petition's filed, it's updated again. And then this basically is then, if you know the recipient account number, right, then they contact the bank. And if that is known, and if you complain fast enough, you can get a refund. But the awareness about this entire process is something that people don't know, right? And this is what you need to get out there a lot more to prevent these frauds from happening.
Awareness. See, the responsibilities lies with the enterprises in largely to ensure the things, first of all, their own names, brands, or apps not available in the market as a duplicates. So that if somebody creates, they need to find out and they need to bring down.
Pull them down.
Yeah, pull them down. That is one thing. And the awareness is the continuous process. It is not a one-time process. It has to be keep on continuous process. That's why I wanted to.
We have seen there are multiple ways in which the awareness is created. One is as and when an application flows through to us, we have our checks and balances in place. But if in case it gets through that check and balance, and then ultimately, while we are trying to get hold of customer in terms of repayments, and that is when we identify that the customer whom we are trying to get in touch with, he says, I have not given my documents at all. So there are various, it's a journey ideally, at various, it impacts. So when we go back and look at such scenarios where was the miss? So there have been, customers are pretty smart, even the fraudsters, I should say, are pretty smart. In fact, they would know what are the checks that each organization is performing. And they would try to take cover of the loophole if there is, that exists. For example, I'll give you a brief on one of the partners that we are trying to tie up with. So they said, we are very good with PAN identification. I said, okay. And we had few cases that, went through and ultimately customer said, I had not applied. So I said, okay, this is a fraudulent PAN. Can you run a check on this and let me know how your particular product is, giving an output on it. So they ran on it and they said, no, this is pretty fine. As in the PAN check is clear. I said, no, this is a fraudulent PAN. And so even digitally, we might have various products which are available in the market which help us identify fraud, but ideally they are not fraud proof. So they're not covering all the points. So as an organization, it is imperative that we get hold of the customer. So there's a particular set of, there's a facade that is, we can see of a customer, but is it actually a customer, or it is just some documents that have been provided which might not even belong to him? The customer is not even aware that his documents are being used somewhere. So it becomes really important as an organization to get hold of the customer and then possibly verify the documents in line with it.
Experience where, even though I'm a security person, I got fooled. I won't say I got fooled. I wanted to open my business account. And of course, one fellow from one large bank came to me, sir, aapka business account khul denge. So, and then I did not have the stamp. He said, don't worry, we can open without your stamp. I said, okay. So finally what I realized that guy made a stamp of my company from outside. He put a stamp on my form and he submitted at some branch, and my account was opened. So I was wondering, how would I know this is going to happen? So what I'm trying to say, I think irrespective of how much we try to educate customers, it's not going to be sufficient, because there are various ways of creating duplicates, various ways of doing fraud, whether it is with PAN or rubber stamp or whatever.
Yeah, rubber stamp. Yes. What are some of the biggest risks of fakes in the digital financial space? What do you see as the bigger risk? We have talked a lot of incidents, but at an organization level, do you see payment as a risk area? Do you see KYC as a risk area? Do you see account opening as a risk area? Or lending or something, collections? Where do you see the big risk?
I think onboarding is a major area people should focus on, because that's the area where you nip the problem in the bud, right? If you stop rogues to get onboarded onto your system, you virtually eliminate all the frauds which will come out of transactions. So that's the one area which we focus a lot when it comes to onboarding.
So apart from onboarding, I'd just like to add to it. So onboarding is one aspect of it. However, once a customer has been onboarded, I'll give you another scenario of a fraud that came. It was
big
actually
one,
not a.
Let's focus on the big problem.
Yeah, so it is. So today, customer, in most of the scenarios that we have seen wherein we have received complaints from customers. So customer says that they have done the entire onboarding process has been done by them, but in influence of a third person. So this is, again, a very critical point, because they'll say that there was somebody,
third person misguiding?
No, yes. So usually, you would find these scenarios wherein these youngsters, wherein they would say that they have a fiance, and he had requested for whatever, influence that they have, maybe emotional or whatever. So they have, to help them, they have applied for a loan, but ultimately after the loan, the fiance somehow he's absconding, and then this person is filing a complaint. So onboarding is correctly, it's in line with the applicant. However, then there are complaints that the applicant with some influence has applied for a loan. So this is another trend that we are observing.
All the new age lending platforms or enablers are trying to reduce the time that you take to onboard a client and give him a seamless and quick experience of onboarding and using the services. During this process, are we taking a call on certain checks which can be a problem on a later date? Okay, so in the process of trying to delight the customer, so are we losing some diligence?
It's a very valid point, right? This is something we struggle with every day, the balance, right? So we created the most efficient process. Now we intentionally put in inefficiencies, right? The reason why I won't talk about what those inefficiencies are, largely because you don't want to educate the people about it, right? And I'm sure that's the story of most organizations out here, right? Now what you take a call on is what the balance of these inefficiencies is.
Okay.
And you also use data science to put in inefficiencies, right?
Put in data?
Data science to put in inefficiencies, right? So essentially, you will put it for a cohort. You will not do it for everyone,
Okay.
right? So you use a combination of all of this. So what you don't want to do is create a bad experience for everyone, right? Then what you do is you also create 3 channels, right? And I don't want to talk too much about it, but you essentially create 2 or 3 different channels. One channel will have a seamless experience because they tick all the boxes. The others you will put in some level of digital control. The third one you will also put in a physical control, right? So, but yeah, I mean, the truth is finance is a serious game. There's money getting transferred. Any organization in the business of handling money has to be conservative, right? Experience is not the only thing that matters in this entire game.
I would like to add on, the other speakers mentioned, in finance, the chances of fake or rogue persons coming into play is much more. And certainly because the impact is much more there. Financial gain to the fraudster and the financial loss to the other side. From a banking perspective, what I would like to convey is that wherever we are enabling the customers to interact in an online fashion, chances of or the attempts for a fraudulent practice is much more. As other speaker mentioned, the onboarding process itself, there are many kinds of fraudulent attempts which are made by the fraudsters, like either person prompting another person to open an account, basically to use it as a mule account. So that the kind of attempts which are happening now for that is much more when compared to the earlier physical account opening process. In many ways, the innocent customers are being gulled. Just like they say that there's a job offer in so and so area. For that, you have to open an account. So I will help you to open an account in this fashion, which you may take it forward. So, just one example I am quoting like that.
Right.
Then even after account opening also, so for example, many people mentioned here about the personal loans. All of us now know that there are in many banks and even other NBFCs are also offering personal loans in an online fashion. So normally customers get an invite from the bank or the institution either through the email or through an SMS. So this practice is now encashed by the fraudsters by sending phishing mails, tricking them to log into other applications or sharing credentials, and then which ultimately results in financial losses both to the customer as well as in certain cases to the institution.
Right.
So certainly in the finance sector, the impact of fake or rogue persons, it's very much on the higher side.
One aspect that I would like to add is from the collection side, where people are not actually fake, they become eventual fakes. So what happens at tier 3 cities and other places, like we do all these onboarding checks with OTPs and all, but at most cases, the entire family would probably have one single phone number. So all their Aadhaar OTP checks would go on to same. So they might not know who all is actually enrolled in the lending space, and these all details get uncovered when the recovery starts and the collection space starts.
Okay.
First of all, what happens is, now that there's so much pressure on the stockbrokers because these millennials from tier 2, tier 3 are coming into the picture, there's a pressure to acquire customers anyhow. What happens is you get in touch with these affiliate partners, you get in touch with these third parties, and they get you massive number of fake accounts, which is one of the key reasons if you see across the stockbroking industry, the activation ratio is not at all ideal what it should be. They may claim they are sitting on 10 million, 20 million accounts, but the actual active customer ratio is very less. So that is one big way, the stockbroking industry is facing a massive challenge. Okay. Second, what happens is because a lot of these customers are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So as a stockbroker, one big challenge we are facing is, a lot of these fake advisors have come into the picture. It's a classic case. Right now, you open an account with any stockbroking house. Next day onwards, you will start getting calls from Indore or MP or different other parts. They'll buy Cortex or buy this, that. So as a broking house, it becomes a challenge for us also. How do you? Because for us, unless until the customer keeps transacting, we won't make any money. But the problem is because someone has recommended some fake, advisory call and the customer has lost money and is now just, hell-bent on closing account or not doing anything. So these are the two massive ways, stockbroking industry is facing issues with these fake things, accounts as well as this advisory calls.
I would like to add because we are also a stockbroking house.
Yes, Pratik.
Yes. So the third issue that somebody mentioned was with the fake screenshots, right? I mean, the people are getting conned with the M2M profit screenshots and trying to get them subscriptions, and they are running side businesses on top of our stockbroking platforms. So to solve this problem, what we took upon us is we started something called as verified by Samco. So for every screenshot which is shared from our apps, we are trying to tokenize it, and we are giving the power to the customer whenever they are sharing it on social media, they can verify it coming on our platform. If they put that token, they can verify whether those screenshots are actually correct or not. So this is something that we have recently come up, and we are trying to solve this problem, and hopefully it catches up as a trend, and probably other brokers also get into this, and we are able to grow as an industry.
Before you share something, here it's a process of validation, right? You want to take the time to say whether what I'm sharing is valid or not, or genuine or not. So people don't have that patience. They just, okay, I feel okay, yeah, isko share karna hai.
If it looks okay, then probably go ahead.
Yeah. So that is going to be, but that's a good initiative. Hope people catch up that culture.
One area which I thought was a little different from what we spoke of on digital risk in the digital space, digital finance space. It permeates across the customer life cycle. It is not restricted to onboarding or, let's say, collections. It permeates across customer life cycle. You take any financial institution, it can happen at any stage of the customer life cycle. There are huge opportunities for a potential fraudster. It could be just encashing somebody else's money, or it could be AML. Converting black money into white. So thought I'll add that perspective.
No, you're right. Friends, I want to focus now on rogue, fake, duplicate apps, because apps is one thing that is occupying more and more real estate on our phones, on our devices. Something that we go to automatically. Many of these apps are running 24/7. You don't even have to start them. Now, in this space, what are you seeing as rogues, frauds, duplicates, clones, whatever you call it? And what are the organizational efforts in general, without being very specific, to control it?
This is what just earlier I told you about, that organization responsibility to handle, to ensure that things, their genuineness is maintained in the platforms or across the social medias or wherever it is goes. Their job how to first find out, grab through the social medias, all areas. They need to their regular job to find out
any negative apps or the fake apps which is available in the market or Play Stores or anywhere else, they need to find out. And how to bring down, that is one. And second thing is, when they give the updates, they should not send it through their SMS or the WhatsApp links. This is one of the education, because what happened, first time maybe bank is sending, second time the rogue star will sending some other link. Then they will start installing and they will start doing. So that is one of the major things I see they should able to create a protection layers. And if SMS going, there should be a lot of initiative need to be done. It comes with the bank names. I see regularly reaching so many banks names. Your account will be blocked, your account, you download, update to KYC, all kind of things will be coming. But when it's a bank name tagged here, a little tagged. So these are the responsibilities of the even providers to ensure the things when they are registering some sort form of names, and they need to take care of the things. Really their business and the request coming from the who are asking, it is whether genuine or not. So these kind of things need to be put a control so that it will minimize the things. You cannot eliminate, but you can minimize it.
What about how to identify these intelligent ways, or are there partners or agencies or technologies that help you identify these clones?
Fake apps. If you want to first classify the fake apps, there can be 3 different ways or 3 types of fake apps, right, in the market. One is that your imitation apps. So, for example, there are popular games, popular fintech apps, and there are some apps which have been developed just as an imitation of that. They are of inferior quality, they have inferior image quality, inferior, communication, inferior language, and you can I'm just saying one of the things.
Got it.
Then you have a clone. Okay, so there is a popular community apps like Facebook and others which you imitate, even WhatsApp for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the last, which is where there's an open source application and you wrap it, you make a packaging around it and fill it with spam and others. So broadly, 3 type of fake apps exist. Now so there are ways to identify them. Most of the ways that we ask customers to identify and we also identify is that you have to actually, there are certain set of things that if you can look at that, as I said, that the inferior image quality and all those. Along with that, you also have to, there are certain apps which also promote that they are the original and verified apps. So there are ways to promote that as well. So for example, Truecaller. So when Truecaller came in the market, to ensure that a call is coming from actually HDFC or Axis, so they had that mechanism that you have a tick mark over there, you will have a verified sign over there, and things like that. So now today a call comes from HDFC, I don't pick it up unless and until it is verified. Like that. Similarly, apps, banks or institutions are also developing certain mechanisms to ensure that the customer can identify that it is a right app, right? And just on this point, because we are saying on fake, so fake has gone more deep now. So now we are calling it deep fake, right? So now, again, there are organizations who are coming up with technologies like, for example, it's saying that, that Ukraine example, then when it was shown that during the Ukraine war, the president had surrendered. And that video went viral, right? And there are similar such instances across the globe. Now, how do you identify that? So I think apparently some technology companies are working on a mechanism where it's seen that when we speak, normally blood flows through our veins, right? And the color of the blood, the deep color of the blood is purple at that point of time. So they have an analysis, they are building an analysis to understand that this, so there is a term for it, even hypertomia, something I've just forgotten. It's too complicated to remember, but yes, they are trying to now inculcate these type of tracking mechanisms or identifying mechanisms within the InfoSec applications that are coming out in the market. So the menace, as you say, is very huge, and specifically now that we are in an era of video KYC and remote verification, it becomes more and more important.
Okay.
And specifically for both onboarding and lending cases.
So to give you an example, some phone came out with a projector feature. And then everyone wanted to make their phone a projector phone, right? Now, there's an app that claims to make your phone a projector phone. You'll download it. And then they've got all your data, right? The other one could be like, get green, red, yellow light out of your camera. And there are all these gimmicks which can, and it may not do that thing after you install it, but you'll know it only after you've installed it.
You're already taken for a ride.
You're already taken for a ride. So you could get compromised at any point in time. So I think it comes down to common sense, and it also comes down to being very conservative about
But is
how you
that
do these
something
things.
an organization can do?
Not
But
as
does
an
that come under your ambit kind of thing?
The problem is that once this customer starts impersonation becomes a big problem because the entire data gets leaked. And once this person is impersonated, then obviously there's a commercial implication.
Right. Well, that's
I
true.
think on customer front, of course, there can be education about how to identify fake apps or genuine apps. Like you just look at the published date, number of users, reviews. I mean, there are some indicators. Google Play Protect also helps you to large extent to identify malware, fakes, right, and delete it as well. So that's on the app user front. But app owner side, like, I mean, if I have to give our example, one, we don't allow our app to run on rooted device, right, being a banking application. So that way we protect our customers. Second thing is we have also built in app scanner and there is a repository wherein if at all any apps are found on the mobile phone of the customers which could be harmful for functioning of our app, we give the alert to customers and we ask them to delete it, right? So that way also we help customer protect, I mean, of course, related to our apps. I mean, if at all it's going to hamper performance of our app or some data breach, data security is going to happen, then we restrict customers to use our app. So these are some of the implementations what we have done to protect our customers from fake app or malwares and other things. Yeah.
I would like to add on. So regarding the rogue apps, the institutions has a great role to play here. I agree with the Dr. Rajendran mentioned. So first of all, we need to ensure that the apps which are being released are secure. That is the first part. Then however best we try, we should accept the fact that there are fraudsters who will on an ongoing basis comes up with the fake apps to to do some kind of frauds, and they know that some innocent people will fall in the trap. So regarding that, the institutions needs to do continuous monitoring, that is monitoring on an ongoing basis to identify if there are rogue apps, and also should have measures to bring down those apps. So that is very important. So there are service providers which provides that facility because as a bank or any other individual organization, they may not be able to bring down an app from the Play Store. So for that, we need to take the help from those service providers. So that is one important point. So similarly, on the other side, we need to educate the customers to follow the basic hygiene with respect to this. So we should make them aware that, like other speakers mentioned, while downloading apps, they need to follow some protocol, like they should download only from the trusted app sources and not from anybody else, like that. And also other kind of actions that a bank can do is that, that we can do many kind of checks, like other speakers mentioned, if the phone is jailbroken or rooted. So we can disable the bank's application in such devices. Similarly, every time the customer tries to log into the bank's app, we can ensure that that particular device follows basic hygiene, that is the basic OS level. Or if there are other malicious apps which has some kind of remote access controls, like that. So if any kind of those vulnerabilities are identified, the institution can take measures to disengage such kind of connections. So from an organization perspective in this area, there's a lot to do from the institution side.
Essentially, all this is coming apart from mechanisms to identify frauds or fakes. Awareness is critical. So is there a mechanism across fintech industry that includes banks and BFCs they are jointly doing effort. For example, Sachin Tendulkar is selling mutual fund, promoting mutual fund on TV. So can Virat Kohli or somebody can promote common sense? I mean, educate people about common sense. Is there such effort?
From a brand point of view, what probably brands can also look at. See, right now what happens is it's across fintech industry that there are cashbacks on offer, vouchers on offer. So I recently came across this interesting, met the one of the marketing acts for this cybersecurity firm, very, very well known firm. So he has launched a new product. So basically, you download that in your phone, and when you're making any monetary transaction, that app automatically disables everything else in your phone at that point in time. Okay. Now, I told you, I said, let's catch up and, instead of giving 5,000, 10,000 vouchers to my customer, I would rather give this 1 year free subscription to them. Because what happens is, this is, a cost from my side, which probably help them, save. And as long as you're doing that monetary transaction, you just enable it. Once you disable it, it will act as a regular security app and lets you do everything else. But when you're doing that monetary transaction, it will disable everything else. So these kind of steps, I think from an organization point of view, we also have to think and just not put everything on the consumer that he has to be sensible. We also have to start these kind of small things from our side, is what I feel.
So did you make that offer to your customers?
Yes, we are tying up with that. Unfortunately, because we have decided we won't take specific names, so I won't be able to take the name of the company. But yeah, we are tying up with them, and very soon we'll be rolling it out to our customers.
Has any organization that in this group or anyone that you know of has given incentives to customers to be more secure?
There's a relatively new insurance company which is app-based, unheard of. They are the ones who started the EMI-based subscription for a app. Because I don't want to take the name, I'm just trying to describe it. So when I subscribed for the insurance policy, the first thing they did is that I took help, and they did is they tied up. They sent me a health kit, which I've never heard of that any insurance company sending me entire health kit, which included weighing scale, your BP meter. You can also check your blood sugar levels. And then they also gave me a 1 full year dietitian, who will guide you into what to eat, what not to eat. I've never heard of an insurance company doing it. This is exactly what you are trying to do, that you are trying to protect your customer by not getting defrauded in any transaction. Here, they're trying to keep the good health of the client so that they don't have a lesser claim on them. It's a beautiful thing. I wish I could take the name, but then it's a beautiful thing that what they're doing.
You can tell us.
While we are not giving out any rewards per se, okay, or something like that to promote it, but when we recently launched our RASP, okay, as a security feature on our mobile banking app, now which is an upgrade, and in order to ensure that the customers do that, we started doing programs and campaigns and started giving out 500 rupees Amazon voucher.
Okay.
Just to tell them that we are giving you money, we are giving you rewards, we want you to be secure.
Okay.
So even that is because so there was a cohort which was selected. There were certain cases of frauds which were reported in the bank, certain UPI frauds which happened, customer complaints. So what we told them is that so we selected a group of those people and somewhere along those segments as well, and we tried to tell them we are trying to do our best to protect you, but also you need to help us in doing that. Why don't you download this HDFC Bank mobile banking app and make your payments through there? Why don't you do your bill payments through there? We are providing you 500 rupees Amazon voucher. Let's do that. That did pan out well. So we had a good 87% response rate. But we expected it to be 100%, to be honest, but it was at 7% at that.
If you all remember, about a couple of months back, RBI had pulled down almost 300 apps from the Play Store. Okay, so this was a regulatory move to identify fake apps and make sure that the consumer is protected. That is one part of it. The second part of it is, The awareness, like he said, how many people will actually read whether how old is this app, what are the subscribers, what are the reviews, and not go click on some open source and you're prone to be defrauded. So regulatory and consumer awareness go hand in hand, and that's when fake apps can be
Right.
Similar note and earlier question which you asked is, are organizations promoting?
Okay.
So, I can speak for BFSI. Most of BFSI, especially insurance, regulation prohibits you from doing any promotion. Okay, inducement to buy or even renew. There is express provision. What the industry has done, however, is made several representations to the regulator and requested to allow it if it is in the customer interest, like the example he quoted.
Yes.
Today, if you have integrated it into your product, when you register your product, then you can do it. But there is a huge overhaul of regulation happening in insurance. And there, we are expecting changes which will come out and which will enable, stuff like this.
Sounds good.
The fine line of differentiation is, as long as you use it for interest of the consumer policyholder is good. But then that fine line is a gray line, and then it gets abused.
Promotional, free app giving, free services giving, and anything free, it is not coming to you as a free. There is in backend, there is a huge agenda will be there, how to utilize that data. People, they use that data for a different purposes. For example, if you go to a medical shop, if you just buy a medicine, if you given your mobile number, next 5 minutes, you'll get a call from, suppose if you bought it any diabetic medicine, then you'll get a call from your lab. You wanted to test the things, I have an offers. So these kind of things are coming up. So that's why the regulations also getting stronger to how to use this collected data in the properly without, only you can use only with consent of the customers. So that need to be done while you are providing services to the customer, because the regulations will come, even data privacy and everything will come, but you need to aware about how the data is being used.
Okay. I think looks like app monitoring is one common method all of you guys are using for identifying fake app. What is your success rate like? And what is the lag between fake app is launched and it is identified and it is taken down? Can you answer this, please?
Yeah, my experience is depends upon the SLA you have with the particular service provider, number one. So you have a 24 hours. In some cases, beyond your territories, you will not able to do it, and you need to have a lot of liaising with the different entities to bring down. So that you need to aware the things, how you will able to do it while you are committing, anybody committing the agreement that I will able to clean up 100%. 100% is not possible. When you are within the territory, yes, you will able to do it within all the frameworks available, and with what is the committed, the timeline. Some people give 24 hours, some people give 48 hours, some people give 1 week. So but these are the timelines which also sometimes rogue people may misuse it.
What about fake apps in the non-financial space making an impact? Is that big, small, or medium? Like a ticketing app, like a chatting app? Are those something that you guys monitor and see is the impact substantial?
My understanding is that the awareness and vigilance is low and is probably restricted to, is it looks like me app? If it is a looks like me app, I think a lot of us spoke about that, you try to pull it down. But otherwise, the awareness is low. And there are so many of them which are coming up. So what all will you monitor?
The interesting parts is the major drivers is the monetary benefits that everybody in the ecosystem, the fake ecosystem, gets out of this. So obviously there are players, right? someone publishes an app, they would look an API which might get published in cloud, just to appear genuine. And then there are advertising, you put in advertising money, which is very cheap in the digital sense actually compared to.
Right.
You can go to click farms, increase your ratings, your stars, and the reviews that you're getting just to appear genuine. And obviously, there is, while we have all spoken about the consumer awareness, which is lacking to a certain extent, as an industry, from the cloud perspective, from the Play Store perspective, be it Google and iOS, everybody does understand this. Like at Play Store, there are cases where regular takedowns are happening just to match up to what the description is and what the actual utility is getting translated to. Because a lot of these fake apps also do cross-selling and X-incentivizing. So it might come up as a utility that, this is an open source app, which mimics like, let's say Spotify. So you don't pay for Spotify premium, you download this app, and then it advertising that why not download our secondary app, which would give you much more benefits out of it.
Just, touching upon what are we doing as an organization, right? So clearly it's something that's top of the agenda, right? So essentially, and like it was discussed earlier, it's a cross-functional activity, right? So you've got a data science team that figures out what's happening, right? Then it goes to the product team. It has to be completely thought out, right? Somebody in product can't take a knee-jerk reaction and say, I'm putting in this control, because it hurts customer experience. It has to be signed off by customer experience. Just because it's signed off by customer experience, and then it has to come to us, without which it doesn't go out, right? The entire impact analysis of that has to happen before it's even rolled out as a feature, right? While we do this, we also push out saying, has a marketing comm gone out, right? Marketing comm, again, you're very conscious saying that don't send it via SMS, do it via notification, right? If there's a feature release, put the notification out there. If people upgrade an app, incentivize them for upgrading the app, right? So all of these things have to be looked at holistically to kind of ensure that, you're on the right side.
As an organization, all your internal boundaries probably getting weaker and weaker.
The challenge is to, there is no specialized skill set like this you can hire from the market today. And that is the biggest challenge.
Actually, have three different layers. Layer one is nothing but input, secondary process, and third is output. When we go to buy a SIM card, we have a lot of formalities to do. But when we are trying to upload any app on Play Store, I think relatively very less formalities are there. So the point is, whenever there is an input, maybe suspicious IP, domain registration, or app uploading, there has to be proper authenticity and identification to catch all the accountability of the organization or person. Second layer where we are working to, secure the organization and, the respective stakeholders. And whatever we are doing, I think it's andhere mein teer marna, because educate these, that, we don't have permanent solution. And third is output. So like you told that monetary benefit. We know that this much money have been, transferred, but how to catch the culprit? If you look into, the ratio to punish the culprit, identify the culprit, it's less than 0.5% on cyber crimes. So we really need to have something like, cyberspace in United Nations for cross-boundary, cooperation, legal implications, to catch all the culprit. Whenever something is being, uploaded, there has to be proper authenticity, identification. And whatever we are trying our best, we don't have control on layer 1 and layer 3, but still we are trying our best, to protect the, privacy and security of the stakeholders.
Offense is the best form of defense, so says, let's say, Viv Richards or a Sachin Tendulkar, okay? So let's go back into history, and you all must have heard of Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu, the famous author of Art of War. So typically he says that, know your enemy and, render them defenseless. That's what a fraudster or somebody would do. We would also need to, be proactive and do the same, to be able to thwart that. And, another thing which we see in the past, this is very akin to warfare, right? And this is very akin to guerrilla warfare. It's not like Russia invading Ukraine. This is like guerrilla warfare in small bursts. And for us to be able to overcome that, you need to be perpetually prepared. I think we heard that comment being made, throughout the day by everyone. that you need to be prepared across at all the time, 24/7. So I think those are the two thoughts I will share behind on how we can fight the fright.
Find the friend.
I think being alert and on all the spaces and specifically on the online front and identifying if there's any second copy of you it plays a very vital role, and to catch hold of any customers who might be defrauded because of it.
So I was working, they had a software to manage programs and projects of NASA. In NASA, typically one program is almost like 50 years long. They had to design long back before they can even make it happen. And only small percentage really go through the production phase or real life, So I was in that, and security was one of my first responsibility, and that's where this initiative started because the whole thinking behind security has to be different, and which I am going to describe, like how it should be different and why it should be different. And also today I am going to focus more on rogue app. So rogue or fake or whatever app you want to call. Now I have heard all you guys are doing tremendous job. Somebody is putting app monitoring services. You are offering some additional, you are putting additional app to monitor your transactions. They are putting RASP. So all these technologies people are trying. But none of them are trying the underlying problem. None of them are addressing the underlying problem. So I am going to describe what the underlying problem is and how it can be exploited. So, and then you will find that whatever we are doing is probably not what we want to do. And then I am going to tell you a brief about our solution, very brief. So let's focus on the problem now. Okay, we all are using mobile application and we would like to use mobile application. But is it safe? Is it enabler or is it a challenger? That you have to ask a question. No, right now, without a proper technology, it's more of a risk than benefits. But once we implement probably the right technology, whatever technology you want to implement, probably it can become beneficial to us. When we made a presentation to RBI about this theft, this was the comment from the Chief General Manager of RBI. You can read it yourself. So we are talking of closing down the banking system, not the bank, the model which we described to him, or rather to their team. Now these are some common news items recently. Even Google CEO said nothing I can do when it comes to cloned app. In short, that was his statement. He said the responsibility lies with the government and government cannot do anything. Okay. CERT-In has issued a warning about this. And they also issued this warning when Modi was opening cybersecurity cell few months ago. It looks like 30% of WhatsApp messages are getting leaked. 30% of total WhatsApp messages that are getting leaked are from India. So again, all are using cloned apps. This warning is from Gartner Group. By 2022, API abuse will be the biggest vector. Now you are going to ask me, you're probably thinking why he is using word API here, because they are all related, I am not going to take hundreds of examples. These are some common things. Paytm, people call you and say, we want to do your KYC, and then they do something and the money starts going out of your account. So a common question to you, what's going to be the business impact if you lose authentication data of a large number of users? That you have to ask your question. For example, in bank, if you lose, data of 10 lakh users, what's going to be the impact? Let's focus on this. This is very important. Rogue clone mobile app can question survival of your business. And please, in this presentation, trust me, each and every word is properly authenticated, verified. Please trust me on right now. It is impossible for organization to identify transactions which are being carried out from a rogue app. Impossible. The word is impossible. There is no technology in the world that can identify that. I have hacked mobile banking apps of few major banks. I have shown to them, okay, and I have also they could not identify, even though I have executed hundreds of transactions. Neither their system nor their risk engines could catch. The threat is nothing to do with your app. This is the biggest problem. Whenever we discuss app, they think, oh, this is my app, that it is totally protected. We have done auditing, we implemented X security system, Y security step. See, here we are talking of a rogue and cloned app. The person who is creating a cloned app, he need not implement any of the security aspect which you are putting in your app, Second thing, this guy, the rogue app can be created in few hours. So you are not going to do auditing of an app created by a third person, Worldwide authentication is written exactly the same way. Exactly means exactly the same. Whether you take bank A, bank B, WhatsApp, or some stockbroking company, it is user ID, password 2FA. 2FA can be OTP. Some bank might be using grid, and device ID. That's it. Now, here, please don't doubt, don't defend. The first, typically what we do, we start defending ourselves that, oh, no, we are totally protected. But that is not the case here. I'm going to discuss that. And I don't think, given the level of threat, you can even defer a decision. Now, using a rogue app, I can create a rogue app either from scratch, or I can take the original app, remove the required security, put a code to trap user ID, password, device ID, and there is something called registration code, and 2FA, just this. And using an API call, I can send this data to hacker, okay? So my site is hacker.com. I'm describing just one model. There are many models. And I can put that app either on Play Store or any other external site. Even on Play Store, no app monitoring service can identify this. I'm telling you how to avoid app monitoring service. Put it on Play Store and say, oh, this bank has come up with a new version of their application. If you download and use it, you will get, say, 5,000 rupees in your account. For all purpose, it is 100% functional app because we haven't changed the functionality. Whether it is a banking app, whether it is a trading app, or any other app, Now, what is going to happen? User is likely to click on that because the name is going to be big. Rather, you said we verify brand name. Bigger the brand, more are the chances of getting caught, So they will say, oh, this big bank has come up with a new version. So people are going to download it. Not only they may download it, they may forward it to a few others. Now, if you do some simple maths with just 5 forwards, we can reach to the complete population of Mother Earth if each one of us forward to just 100 people. Now, once I get authentication data, I can use that authentication data to impersonate user as well as to impersonate user's device, okay? You have to calculate yourself. Now, just to give some data, Google Pay reached out to 3 crore users in just 1 month when they launched Google Pay. And how much they were offering? 100 rupees for registration, 100 rupees for referral. If I offer 5,000 rupees, how many people I can reach? Now let's click on that spreadsheet. Let people, take any mid-sized bank. So how many people do you think for a mid-sized bank, how many users are there in a typical mid-sized bank? No, forget about it, average, just kuch bhi le lo number. 1 lakh? So we are talking of 1 lakh into 30,000, that means 30,000 crores. 30 lakhs into 1 lakh, that means I am talking of 30,000 crores. So if I have authentication, if I can steal authentication data of 30 lakhs, I can siphon out 30,000 crore rupees that from just one bank. This process I can repeat for multiple banks because the process is exactly the same. Suppose, let's assume that I don't, take out money. Once I have user ID password, I can log in as user, I can log in as as user's device. If I just order checkbooks for all 30 lakhs people, what is the damage to the bank? Probably each checkbook costs 500 rupees. Yeah. So what is the base vulnerability here? We always think of app. App is not a problem. App is not a problem. App, what is app? App is just providing you a user interface. That's it. Your business processing is on the server side. If I request payment, it is happening at the server. If I request for login, it is happening at the server. If I request for fund, some checkbook order, it is the server that is processing it. And how server is processing? App is sending, calling an API, sending the right payload or data, server receives the data and server processes the data based on what it has received. But server does not understand who is calling me, calling that API, whether the person calling the API is authentic or not, whether the application that is calling that API is authentic or not. So one can exploit this vulnerability, which is called API exploitation. So what is a fake app? Fake app is nothing but one API that is one app that is calling API of the organization. That's it. And we give a look-alike just to fool user. Nothing more than that. Now, if I start from the original app, I can do work faster. If I start from the scratch, probably it will take a couple of more days. That's it. Okay? There is no known technology to prevent API exploitation or a rogue app, and this is what I need to identify user. Now, I'm going to describe how each and every security check can be bypassed with just one line of code, whether it is app monitoring, whether it is RASP, just one line of code. Now, the most common thing is certificate pinning. Certificate pinning, everybody says, oh, we use certificate pinning. Certificate pinning is for data protection, not for app protection. But unfortunately, when you open the original app, you get the certificate and corresponding password. So once I have the certificate and corresponding passwords, even I can use it, you know. Same encryption goes exactly the same. Anti-tampering check, only thing people rely on, that can be broken very, very, very easily. And there are multiple ways of breaking it, you know. OTP, now next thing people call, oh, we are using OTP. But remember, when I create a rogue app, I can put a code to read OTP from the incoming SMS and call the confirmation API, API. OTP is no good. Same with, goes with any other solution, any other two-factor. App monitoring service, very easy to fool app monitoring service. One, in Google Play, there is an option of making app private. If you make app private, it cannot be monitored by app monitoring service, but you can still click on a link and download. Play Store checks. Oh, why bother Play Store? I can upload it on any external site. And there is no technology in the world that can identify what files are there on my website or his website. Biometric, people think when I put fingerprint on the, thumb on the fingerprint, it is the image that is going. No, it is only the string is going. The way I can steal user ID password, I can also steal biometric string. So it's even confirmation, that app can delete the incoming confirmation message and user won't even realize. So basically I can bypass each and every security check. Just use APIs of web application, because web applications API don't support certificate pinning, anti-tampering check, device authentication and all that. So just use APIs of web application and you can do anything and everything you want. What technical knowledge is required, do you know, to create a rogue app? Just basic Java. One 10th class fellow can do it. Believe me, one 10th class fellow can do it. And what tools are required? Notepad and IDA Pro if somebody is using C++ program. I recently, evaluated app of one of the biggest bank in India. They are doing, they have written only in Java. So if they have written only in Java, I don't even require IDC Pro. And this is a free tool, by the way. How much time does it take? Developer 1 to 3 days, hacker 1 to 2 hours. Believe me or not more than 2 hours. Now on our website, the guide is there. It is not just a broad framework. It shows go to this code and change this word or this line, and you will be done. So go to this, you can click on our this link, get the data, and you can do it yourself. You don't require any knowledge, just in a couple of hours. Now there are 3 solutions available in the market. One is like app monitoring, device monitoring apps, which are called MDM. They are no good. Basically what they do is they check whether there is any fraudulent app installed on the app, your mobile. But they don't do anything more than that, and you cannot ask every user to pay 200 rupees a month and install such application. Second thing, app hardening. What is RASP? RASP, what it does, it encrypts the code. But on first run, the decrypted code is available. So once the decrypted code is available, you get all the API definition, and once you get the definition, you can create rogue app yourself. So RSP is good if it is a gaming application, because in gaming application there is some logic in app code. But for transaction application, it is no good. Mobile SDK from these companies, you can just simply comment out and the whole protection is gone. Remember, all 3 of them cannot be a protection for an app created by a third person. It is for your app, this protection is there, but not for an app that is created by a third person. Now, who all can be impacted? Any app, but of course financial apps have. Now this is very important. Now, what is the current way of thinking? We always go for lock key system, okay? For this problem, there is a lock and there is a key. But unfortunately, in mobile application, keys are next to the lock. For example, encryption key is hard-coded. Certificate pinning password is hard-coded. So everything is within the mobile application. So once I decompile it, very, very easy to do. I get everything out, you know. And unfortunately, once I break for one person, all the people who are using the broken app are vulnerable. So there is a common key. Now, for us, there is a totally different way of handling this. Ours is a dynamic intelligent behavior, invisible, proactive and deterrent system. Now, typically, you have to present yourself to identify you, okay? Whether it is by user ID password, whether it is by some electronic, or whether it is Khulja Sim Sim, you know? So the person identifies himself. It should be other way around. The system should identify the person, you know, without system presenting it. So this is what we are doing. So ours is a key lockless security based on shared intelligence. This is basically design. We are showcasing a server here. This is app, and then the path between app and app and the server. It is a keyless security system based on the shared intelligence and behavior, which generates generates dynamic and private data, which allows only the owner to enter and owner to open the safe. Now, how do we do that? What we do is we create, take image of network, image of server, image of user, image of device, image of app, and image of business data. Business data means transfer, amount to be transferred or account, etc. And we create an image which changes every 1 second. And that only, which we call virtual image, the virtual image goes to the server, and the server knows how to, get the real image out of virtual image. Now this image is created by encrypting using mobile time. There is no way anybody would know what was the time when you clicked on submit button. Now, what if I take simple analogy, if Harish is looking like this now, Harish will after 1 second will look like Shah Rukh Khan, another Amitabh Bachchan, maybe somebody else. So even if I get hold of Amitabh Bachchan instance, I won't know whether the real person is Harish, Suresh, or somebody else, you know. So that is what the virtualization is. Now, what is the ultimate effect when it comes to rogue app and any other mobile security threat? First thing, as soon as there is a threat, including rogue app, including fake app, as soon as user opens fake app, the app will close down. Basically, what I am trying to say, I won't allow a person to even log in from a fake app. We have made it, the whole environment is going to be private. If to hack a person's app, I have to get physical hold of person, that to the time when he clicked on submit button, which is time in the past, which is impossible. So we have made each and every transaction or environment personal to that device, that user, that network, which cannot be replicated. Impossible. Third is, API exploitation is possible because you send some static data using API. Now here whole data which is going to be sent through API is going to be dynamic, which is going to change every 1 second. So there is no way anybody else can exploit API. Nobody can send static data to a server, because static server won't understand the static data. If no data is sent, then also server will say I did not receive any data. You know, server will always expect virtual image. It is virtually, on the server side, it is virtually impossible because there are multiple layers of security involved using some risk engines and fraud engines. So basically, it becomes virtually impossible. See, a very simple, no, it is not encryption channel. It is not encryption channel.
Correct, it doesn't matter.
Right now, your user ID is, say, James Bond.
Sure.
Server always understands you as James Bond. Okay? So if I and your password is, say, Katrina Kaif. So if I steal your user ID password, server, and submit your user ID password, server will understand that.
Correct.
Okay? This is because API, you are as a payload or data, you are sending James Bond and Katrina Kaif. Server says, oh, this is the right combination, let me allow him to log in.
No, I understand that piece, right? So basically, the point you were making is that the encrypting the encryption channel doesn't really work, right? Because you send standard data. So you introduce variability by creating variability by the second, right?
That is one of the aspects.
Okay.
That is one of the.
Okay.
What we are doing in this, see, if you have simple encryption, sorry, like I am going little bit technical. If you have simple encryption, you use something called symmetric technology.
Correct.
So the encryption key is in your app. So if I decompile encryption, I get the encryption key and IV value. Okay. So I can also encrypt, I can also decrypt.
Correct.
Now here what we are doing is something called virtual encryption. So the encryption key is generated, which is based on the mobile time. The data is encrypted, key is destroyed. Okay. Nobody in the world knows what that key is. So only the encrypted data goes to the server. Now we developed a technology where server can tell exactly what was the time when you clicked on submit button on your mobile.
So does the server process encrypted data, or does the server decrypt it at some point?
It decrypts.
It decrypts, right?
So basically the point is server calculates exactly what time Harish clicked on submit button.
Correct.
Now then it calculates the encryption key there, and it applies on the received data, it gets the real data back. Now think of here, what we are doing, we are authenticating time.
Understood.
Nobody has to put anything.
And you're linking your key to the time as well.
Time. So that is one aspect. And since time is going to be private, I mean, no two mobile is going to have the same time at the time of clicking. No two mobile with the same user ID, okay, is going to have the same time when they click on this. This will always create a unique environment. This is just one thing I have discussed, but the behavior engine, which is not based on the encryption, as soon as you open a rogue app, it shuts down the application. Because it may, see, normally what happens is all the technologies are based on the external property. So if I know external property of Harish, I can create a statue out of external properties and create another statue. I can create another Madam Tussauds. But if it is based on the internal properties, there is no way I can, replicate a person. So what behavior engine is doing, it is creating it is deciding everything based on the internal properties, which is all runtime properties. And because of that, we don't require any other technology. But if you want to keep all your technologies, all your logs, technologies, you can also keep those technologies. It does not interfere with our solution.
Every processing that we do on an API becomes an overhead that goes across the network channel, right? Probably 3G data, 4G data, or even edge that is at the tier 3 stage of India. So I understand that you are using one of the intrinsic properties of device IDs, and timestamp is one aspect of it. So there are many things.
No, we don't do that. Okay.
So ultimately, in plain simple terms, let's say if I have today an API that is going back and forth, let's say with 100 bytes of data, then what is the network overhead that comes on to the processing?
Yeah, typically we send around 500 bytes more, okay, for only those APIs which are a concern to you, okay. So for example, login is always a concern to you. Now, at the logging level, if you say this app is not tempered, or this app is not running on rooted device, or not run this, then of course the following transactions are also not going to be on a rooted device, or following transaction is not going to be from a fake app. So only in login. Now we send another, say 500 bytes. The overhead is going to be in microseconds in current network speed. Second thing, on the server side, we have developed in-memory processing server. Some of you might have heard SAP HANA, where whole data is loaded in memory. If you process one I/O call from disk compared to one I/O call on disk, I/O call in memory is 2 lakh to 5 lakh times faster. So all our processing is in-memory processing. So if you look at the response time from our server is just between 10 milliseconds to 40 milliseconds apart from network time. The average expected time is 300 milliseconds. Even UPI, they promise 300 milliseconds. So super fast. Thank you.